podcast, TruthSeekah's podcast. Buckle up, everyone. We're going to talk aliens, UFOs, ghosts, spiritual and paranormal. From all of the three moons, beyond your wildest dreams. Nice.
TruthSeekah and or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah Podcast.
Gargoyles, psychics, everything's ungodly. Dark's at it.
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian.
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark's at it stuff.
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
Yo, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm your host, TruthSeekah. This is the TruthSeekah Podcast. Excited, delighted to be with you guys for this amazing episode. We're going to get it in, talk about all things spiritual, the beauty of God, creation being created in the image of a creator, which I'm really big on that. So my guest, we're going to talk about that tonight. It's going to be good. Make sure you guys stay tuned. Give a shout out to everybody who is supporting my work via Patreon. This is a listener supported show. Doesn't happen without your help. So thank you for believing in this podcast and my ministry, my music, my work, everything that I'm bringing to the table doesn't exist without your help. You guys are co-creators. So you guys are the enablers. Thank you so much for believing in the work. I'm going to give a shout out to some of the latest patrons within the last week or so. Shout out to my brother, Roy Peterson. He just came on. If you guys haven't heard the interview I did with Roy, make sure you go check that out. It's in the archives as well. It was just like 2 weeks ago, and it's really good. Shout out to Jamie Ruckman. Pokes his head in every now and then. He's a patron now. Anytime I release new music, Jamie Ruckman's going to be a patron. He's definitely here for the music. He's not here for the podcast. So shout out to Jamie Ruckman, man. You got you some new music. And Scott Petit, thank you guys for believing in the work and coming on. It means the world. If you'd like to support, go to patreon.com/TruthSeekah. The link is in the descriptions. You get access to my entire discography of music, which is 200 plus songs, and I just released a new song this week, so you get access to that before it's available to the general public. You get access to our Thursday night School of the Mystics, which is the community aspect to what we're building here, and so much more. Go check it out over on Patreon. Guided meditations, bunch of really cool stuff. Check that out. Also, too, my book is here. If you guys have not had a chance to check out my new book right here, Spirit Realm, Angels, Demons, Spirits, and the Sovereignty of God, forward by Jordan Maxwell. Make sure you guys check this out. It's on Amazon. You can get it at Walmart, Target, all those places where you consume media and read books. So it's all there. So make sure you check that out. And already off the back, thank you guys for the donations in the super chat. Jay Phoenix, what's up? Shout out. Thank you for coming on and doing that as well. Let's jump into today's discussion. My friend, Ashon the 7th son.
Yeah.
What's up, man?
How's it going, TruthSeekah?
Good to have you here.
Good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, man, there's so many people in I would say our universe as far as like people I'm connected with on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and then Instagram. There's people all over the place. Somebody, I forgot who it was, forgive me, somebody tagged me in one of your posts and said, man, this is somebody I'm following. I love his work. And they tagged me in one of your songs. And then you was another video, I think you were just spitting some truth or whatever. And I started following your work and seeing what you was bringing to the table. And they were like, you got to get him on the podcast. So I was like, sent you a message. And here we are. 2 months later, it's probably been about 2 months. 2 months ago, we set this up, but here we are. Man, it's an organic conversation, and man, I'm excited to ask you some questions and build together in the spirit and see where you are. All that good stuff, man.
Yes, I am too. Let's go.
So you're a designer and a hip hop artist, or I don't know if I'd say hip hop, more pop, hip hop, pop. Definitely have a Prince vibe, which is really cool. Like a new age, new soul type stuff. It's really good. Me and my family been jamming out to it all day. I guess just kind of introduce yourself to the community. People don't know who you are, what you bring to the table. Just kind of give us an overview because you do a lot. So
I do a lot. So I'm trying to keep it confined to music and design. But my name is Ashon the 7th son. I do music. I don't even know what genre it would be because sometimes it just depends on what feeling I have. So if it's like trap meets David Bowie, I don't know. It might be like that one day.
Good combination.
Yeah. So it just depends on what if I'm playing the piano or feeling something, or if I'm being used as a vessel to create new music, then that's the route I go. So I try to keep the box of one genre open to whatever, because I love all kind of music. So
yeah, I guess that was going to be the next question. Like, what are some of your influences?
Influences are Michael Jackson, Prince. I love Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, David Bowie, Daft Punk. I mean, goes down to Blink-182, the Ramones. I just love. It just depends on the day, I guess, on how I'm feeling and what I want to. I learned how to play drums playing to Blink-182, so
awesome.
So it just depends on what it is. I learned piano through listening to Stevie Wonder, and I grew up listening. My favorite era of music is 70s. I think the 70s culminated in every genre put together. I think in that era, and the singing and the jazz and the rock and roll and everything put together in that era was just, and the warmth of the music was amazing. A lot of times in new music, you get it's very cold because it's not analog. So I just love the warm feeling of the music and everybody singing together with the chorus, like Earth, Wind, and Fire, and that kind of thing. So
man, it's totally different. You hear bands that come out that just have a piece of some of the stuff from the soul era, some of the 70s stuff. There's a band, Greta Van Fleet, who just came out. They're like a rock and roll band, but they sound like I think it's Zeppelin is who they sound like, and there's just like it's almost ancient at this point. There's this other voice that's coming through them, and they've tapped into something that's that's been lost or whatever. And whether it even is the way that they're recording, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people who are trying to go back to that.
Yeah, recording on tape makes things, even though it's more expensive, it just makes the sound quality is just so much more beautiful, I think. So I if I can ever go in the studio, I'm usually recording in my room, but if I ever do go into the studio and have a chance, I will record analog. So
yeah, I think we never recorded analog, but we did do like the recording on the big board, like recording into the boards at the big major studios. That's how they did it back in the day. We never did the tape though, but ever since I got Cakewalk, I started learning that stuff myself and being able to record and produce myself at home, because I would go to studios and do stuff with people, and I would spend money. And I would come back with a product that I didn't like, and I had spent, $50-$60, and I'm like, man, I don't even like this. This sucks, So I learned very quick to do it myself.
That's what happened to me. This day and age, most people don't have time to practice or don't want to practice. Mm-hmm. So I was like, let me learn drums, let me learn piano, let me learn. All of my family sings opera and sings gospel. So I have 3 sisters. They all sing opera and gospel. So I was always playing the piano for them in church. So I was always around music, but they don't like to practice. So I got myself a Motif ES8 and I learned how to program that. And then I learned GarageBand, and then I learned Logic. So that's how I do everything now. It's just me and Logic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing about it, establishing myself as a solo artist, was I love the band feel too. Like playing with a full band, and the music can change and you can kind of go somewhere in the spirit, and versus like having everything programmed or whatever. But again, practicing and then having all these people that you gotta make it work. And then when it comes time to get paid, if you do a gig, you got to split it. You got to split, say $500 6 ways. Yeah. That pays for dinner and some gas, versus by yourself. If you get paid $500 by yourself, that's a little change, So it's ended up panning out, me doing it by myself, and I didn't have to worry about anybody else's drive or if they felt like practicing any of that kind of thing. Did you run into that too?
I mean, I ran into that too, but I'm going to agree with you. You're 100% correct with the band sound, because with a band, there's nothing like a human being playing the drums. There's nothing like a human being playing the piano, because you're having a in-the-moment conversation with that other person musically. There's nothing more magical than 2 human beings having a conversation and it being in the pocket, on point, sounding good, and you can go anywhere with it. That's an amazing feeling. I toured in Paris as a drummer for a band all throughout Europe, and it's just amazing to be on stage and to have the other band members and to be able to rock out with them and just feel the music, have the crowd feel it. It's just amazing.
Yeah, so. I miss it so much, but I mean, it's just hard. I'm kind of limited at time, like you were saying a while ago, like. You're doing music and you're designing. Well, it's like you can even break that music down into, okay, I'm starting a band and I'm working on my solo project and I'm helping my cousin on his album. You know what I'm saying? And you just start like dividing yourself up so much that you don't really get anything accomplished, or you're not like 100% into anything. And I wish I really could put some time towards a band and stuff like that, but it's just so much more, especially when you got momentum with your own stuff, into all that.
You got to start delegating. That's what I learned to do now. I realize I can't do everything, so I've started to give things to other people, and I know it's not going to go perfectly my way, but I leave it, and then I leave it open for the spirit to move and for me to be able to create with that, co-create, like you're saying.
Yeah. So when you do your digital stuff, you have other people that help you with that stuff too?
Well, right now I got a great producer. It took me forever to find, but his name is Rami, and he helps. He'll send me stuff. I'll be like, oh, okay, I like that beat. Or he'll be like, can you sing on this? Or can you help me with this? Like, we just did a song called Original Man. I forget the rapper's name, but I'm singing on him with the chorus, and it's just evolving like that now. Now I'm really helping people with their music, and sometimes I write my own beats. Most of the time I write my own beats, but sometimes these days I'm because I don't have the time to do it all the time now. So I'm allowing people to send me stuff, and I go, okay, you know what? I can rock with that. Let's try. Let's do an experiment and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have to send you something, man, because I need some help with some choruses and stuff too. And you got an amazing voice, and I love your spirit and where you are. And again, you give all the praise and glory back to the Creator, and that's the biggest thing for me. And I want to pick your brain about that. We'll talk about designing, I think creating music and birthing something into this realm that didn't exist. There's like this, as we shine as sons and daughters of the Most High, like when we birth something and we're proud of it and we get to look at it, and I've been talking about it a lot on here, how I feel like God does that to us with like the clouds and the mountains and the ocean. He's like, look what I made. Check it out. Yep. And we get to bask in it, and he's just like, oh yeah, I made that, man. I wanted you to see it. Hey, I got these other things I made. And you know what I'm saying, in the spirit realm, and I know you're into like, you know what I'm saying, some of the sacred geometry and the different dimensions and stuff like that, and it just gets so complex that he is the grand architect behind the mysteries of the universe, man. And we get to go within ourselves and commune with him and then birth something that has that same effect on other people. Like, hey, look what I made. And it excites them. It inspires them. It gives them courage. It makes them want to create. Like, that whole song and dance, man, with the Creator is just so amazing, bro. And I know you feel that too.
I feel it, man, and definitely with the music, I'm there with you. I will definitely. You can send me whatever you want. I will sing because I love your music is great, man. I love it. So send me whatever you want. I will hop on it and we'll make something happen. And like you said, co-creating with someone, or even how the Creator creates, and each day he paints the sky a different color. It's just insane the amount of. I say this: there's no other designer that can even top anything that the Creator has put out. Is just it's beyond prolific. I'm at a loss for words, because the Creator. I see the Creator through nature. I see the Creator through the design of the human body. I see the Creator through the ecological system that we have, and it's a beautiful thing. So.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. How did you come to that belief? Like, was you raised in church? I know you said you have a lot of family members who were singing gospel and things like that. Is it something that you were raised in, or something that you came to, like a revelation later in life? How'd you come to that understanding?
No, my parents were both Baptists, and then when I was born, for some reason they became Seventh-day Adventists. So I was always going to church on Saturday, on Sabbath. And I just grew up playing the piano in church for my sisters and playing the piano for my mom and everything else. But I really didn't understand why I was going to church on Sabbath and why I believed in God. It's just, when you grow up and it just like, okay, this is what we do. But I really, it took circumstances in my life to bring me closer to the Creator. And as a designer, you don't really, as a singer, designer person, you don't really fit in with church. Because church people are like, you got to be a doctor or a nurse or a vet or something that takes care of somebody, or something in medicine. I was always the one drawing in church and, making pictures and making songs, and I'd sneak off and go play the piano in the little kids' room. But what got me on the path of trying to figure out why is I was dating an Australian girl, and I broke up with her, and this is going to be so random, but she said that I don't want to be known only for dating black guys. And I was like, wow. So that question made me go, okay. I thought to myself, why is it that white people hate black people so much? And I was like, this is so weird. So I always wanted to know the origin of something. So I started on that path. And I kept going, and then I kept trying to figure out different origins of things. And when I started to look at the origins of things, it brought me back to design. And so even in school, I studied fashion from 2006 to 2011. And I would come up with all these crazy designs because they would have you go look at the magazine for designs, right? I would go out into nature and I'd look at the Creator. I didn't even realize what I was doing. I would just take stuff from nature and come up with like, okay, if a gecko has these designs on its hands that make it stick to the wall, why not make a pattern out of that and put it on a shirt? Or why not make a pattern out of it and make an actual jacket that can stick to the wall? Or I made a jacket where the sleeves there had a whole bunch of scales on it that would flip up and change the whole color of the jacket. So I would get design inspiration from nature, and then I would pull that into my collection. So after that, I moved forward, and I moved back to California from Australia. I lived in Australia for a little bit, and that kept leading me towards design, more music, and I just kept getting more information about it. I started studying ecological systems, and started studying the human body and started studying sacred geometry and started studying history and then the Bible. Those three things gave me, it like super enhanced wisdom. Like if you want a super trajectory for gaining wisdom, study the body, study the Bible, and study nature. If you study those three things, like nature is, I'll say this. When you make a song, it comes from your nature, right? It comes from your inner being. The words that you write, the feeling that you have behind it, the music that you have behind it comes from you. It comes from your spirit. If the creator, when he was making this habitat, is saying, I'm going to make something so epic that everything gives and receives. Everything infinitely gives and receives. When you take a breath in, you must give that breath back. If I eat some food, I poop it back out and I fertilize the ground.
Yeah.
If I smile at someone and they're not having a bad day, usually they smile back. And that smile sends cortisol and not cortisol, but different chemicals throughout your system, dopamine throughout your system. And it just living in that gratitude moment. And then your heart chakras and everything begin to shine and you begin to send your frequency out to people. I know maybe I'm going too far.
No,
right
you're
now.
good. You keep it going. Cause I've been on this like last 2 days big time too. So
yeah. So when you send out that frequency of love, it's just amazing. So I studied those three things. I studied the Bible, I studied nature, and I study ecological systems. And that really helps you to see the truth, because man likes to put artificial ecosystems on top of the real ecosystem. And you get into trouble when you do that. And that's where I came up with the thing called open and closed loop design. So open loop design is usually what man does. We'll make an object or we'll make something, but it's not all the way recyclable. So closed loop is this. When you flip the light switch on in your house, there's a circuit that goes. So when you close that circuit, the circuit can go and the energy flows through and the light can go on infinitely, or as long as you pay that bill. So as long as it's going around, you get light. Man usually creates in closed loop or open loop design. So that means like if we create a phone, it gives off radiation. There's the thought behind, okay, what is this technology going to do? What is this product going to do? And what ingredients are in it? And what are the side effects of this? That's why when God says, let there be light, and then at the end of that day, he says, this is good. It's great because the light gives the energy down to the trees, which the trees consume. And then the animals consume that and poop it out. And then the decomposers come and recycle that back. So that whole system, even taking water from the ocean into the clouds, down to fresh water, and then it recycles back to the ocean. That's infinite giving and receiving. If that makes sense. Yeah,
I've kind of been on a little bit of that lately. I've been looking up the law of compensation. And so I was just laying in bed one night and the Lord just started like giving me these scriptures about how, like storing up treasures in heaven and being able to cash out. And this is something I've heard like the prosperity guys talk about, and I didn't really like it at the time, but I was started getting these downloads just laying in bed. So I woke up and I came and I started writing everything down on my computer, just studying finances and stuff, and then I was led to the law of compensation. It's like, whatever you take, you got to put something back. You can't just take. It's like, hey, you didn't put in on this. You got to give something back. And like, it's like the more that you give, I think it comes back to like what we call alms in the Bible. Like your alms have reached heaven and God's like, hey, this person's like doing so much good deeds and he's storing up the treasures and I see them on the earth, and let me open up the windows of heaven. Let me use them. Let me show my glory through them because they're a good and faithful steward. They're not just taking and spending, and they're like replenishing. They're helping people, right? So it's like you can have as much as you want, as long as you continue to give back. You got to keep putting back to the community pile or whatever, you know what I'm saying, the treasury. Like if you take some, you got to put it back and more. And it's just going to keep repeating over and over. So that thing you're talking about, this circuit, it's like you got to make sure that you're in the flow of that, you know, of anything you do, whether it's finances, whether it's creativity, anything. You're helping people, you're doing good. And I feel like, you know, I feel like God takes notice of that, man. And like when we need it, it's going to be there for you. There's no begging. There's no looking. There's no, you can bet that when you need a friend, it's going to be there. Why? Because you were a friend to someone who needed a friend. You know, when you needed you help pay somebody's bill, and then now you're at a time where you need a bill paid. Boom, here God comes with a miracle or whatever, however he wants to orchestrate it with this ecosystem, and to have your needs met as a son and daughter of the Most High. So this whole thing of like giving and receiving, like this how it's, you have to do both. You can't just take, which people do, you know, all the time.
Dude, I love that you say that. In Psalms, David says in 37, I think he says, I was young and now I am old, and I have never seen the righteous begging for bread. I love that he said there. And then also, I mean, you look at God's nature. He came down and then he washed people's feet. If you look at a redwood tree seed is like, it's like a little watermelon seed, and it grows to be 350 feet tall, 15 feet around. So it seems like it's taking up a lot of space, but what it provides under the ground, the nourishment and the ecosystem that it provides, and the homes it provides, and the shade and the oxygen that it provides is absolutely, it's amazing how much oxygen comes out just from the redwoods in California. It's just amazing, the ecological system up there. And so when you say giving, back to giving and receiving, I never realized when I was holding back from giving information because I didn't want to offend anybody. I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I realized I was getting information and I wasn't giving it back.
That's deep.
And so this, I mean, just your platform right here where you're giving information, you receive, just like with Patreon. You are giving information and you receive back.
Yeah.
So it's I call it a principle of the universe. And that's what tithing is. Tithing is, people think tithing, church tells you that you're just supposed to give 10% to them so they can pay their rent. Jesus didn't have a church. He walked around and went to the people. That's why the Pharisees were messed up, because you're messing up my money, bro.
Yeah.
My congregation is now out here with you eating fish and bread and actually getting spiritual food. We can't have that, sir. We're going to have to kill you.
Yeah.
So tithing is really giving of energy. It could be in the form of money, but you could be tithing by just going on Sabbath and going to the nursing home and playing the piano, or going, like 2 weeks ago, I went to Mexico and we built a house for this family. It was like this little 10 by 10 house for like 10 people, no running water, no nothing, but they were sleeping on the ground before. So you take the weekend, give your time. You may not see it back in money, but you'll see it. The Creator will make sure that comes back to you in some way.
Even with the money thing with tithing, because that was deep for us. Like it was a demonic doctrine for me, because like, and I've talked about this a lot and I'm going to continue to talk about it. But like, we were told, like, if you don't tithe, like if you don't give that 10%, and this isn't time, this isn't helping people, because I was totally doing that. This is money. If you do not give the 10% that you owe God, then he'll take it from you, is what they would teach us in church. And so we would write down like amounts that we owed God because we wasn't able to pay for that week, because we had a bill that we had to pay or whatever the case was, and we didn't have it. So we were keeping tabs, and it's like, okay, we owe God $100. We're going to pay him back next. We're going to double down. Maybe give a little extra. And then the next paycheck come through, and we never had enough, and we had to keep like deducting what we owed, and we like end up owing God like $500, and we're freaking out because they're telling us like, if you don't give it, God's gonna take it. And they was like talking about how your refrigerator would break, your washing machine, your car would break down. So every time like something would happen, the car would break down or something would break, our minds automatically accredited to God taking it from us because we weren't tithing. And you know what I'm saying? And it has nothing to do with tithing, right? With money, as far as worshiping the Lord, because we understand that like it's faith. without faith, it's impossible to please God. And for many people, because there's so many amazing tithing stories, because they would let people come up and say, we were just behind on our every bill, but we took our last little bit and we gave it in faith. And we knew that God would bless us. And we had an unexpected check come in and someone gave us a car. And they would always let these people come. So it's like, okay, so what do you say about that? It's like that money for them represented their faith. It was an object of faith. That when they had that last $100 or whatever it was they gave, it was a symbol of, okay, God, I trust you. Yeah. I trust you, Father, here with the last little bit that I have, God. I trust you with it. And that's where we're supposed to live in that. Whether it's our last 100, our first 100, this perpetual place of gratitude that he doesn't want 10%. He has if he has your heart, he has it all. You know what I'm saying? And so we tithe out of the abundance of that. We got to make sure that we're always paying it forward. We know the universal laws and how this thing works. And, you know, God has so blessed us, so we want to be a blessing. And if you believe in a church, if you believe in a ministry, you should take care of it. You should help them financially. You should sow seeds of faith and things like that. But, yeah, we were under some dark stuff, and there was a lot of people who are still under that with the whole tithing thing. And it got really, really dark with the prosperity side to it. And even, like, I know that sounds extreme, but they would even teach that without even saying it. Like just little different tricks and things to make you give. Like, everybody take your tithe out in church, and I want you to hold it up. Hold the envelope up, and we're going to ask God to bless it. And here you are sitting there with your hands in your pocket while everybody else got their envelopes in the air, asking God to bless it and shake it down, press it, run it over, Father. I'm giving it to you, and here you are with your hands in your pocket. And then they'll tell you to come up to the altar and put it on the altar. And here you are sitting at the pew. Oh, Lord, you got to bring something. You can't be the only one standing there, man. Man, it goes deep with me, man.
No, that is hilarious. You're 100% right. And you think the Creator really wants you to do that. The tithing this is what's so amazing about the Bible says this too, that the lady gave her last penny. But she did it in secret. She didn't be like the Pharisees and hold her envelope up and wave it around and make sure everybody saw it. No, she gave it because this was a part of her heart and a part of her faith. Yeah. And then also, tithing has done this for me. It trims the fat. If you have a paycheck and I take a certain amount out, I take 10% of each paycheck. It makes me stick to a budget, man. I got to stay on budget. I got to stay on tax. So the Starbucks, the extra stuff that everybody wants to buy, the Amazon and all the extra, it makes you say, am I going to spend this energy in the form of currency? Yeah. This is what all currency is. We're trading energy, which is time for currency. Am I going to trade this energy for something for me? Or am I going to trade this energy for something for someone else? That really helped me with the tithing thing. Because if it was for putting it in church, I had a hard time. I was like, dude, I'm broke. But when I cut all the other stuff out, it's not even a question anymore now. It's the first thing I take out.
Now, when you say you take that out, do you give that to the church to help support and fund what they're doing? Or do you give that back into
I give it to people
family, another minister that you believe in online? Like, where does that tithe go for you? Does that go directly to the church, or where do you spend it?
I give it to people like you who do this kind of platform, because I really think this is how church should be: a small tribe of people coming together to actually have a conversation and not just someone speaking at you. And then right now I'm supporting 2 kids going to an Adventist school in Palm Desert. So it's like $50 a month. So I was like, okay, I can send 100 here and then 100 over to the kids, because I went to school there and I was supported. So I wanted whoever to not have to worry about uniforms and whatever else, or next month it might go to someone in a different country or something. But I try to stay local because this is my ecosystem. Yeah. And this is what I can do in my ecosystem. When people say they want to go to Mexico or go to Africa or do all these things, do you know how many kids are hurting right in your backyard?
Yeah. 2 houses down. 2 houses down.
You mean you want to take a vacation, see Africa, build something, and take a photo and then come back?
You want to play with the children.
Yeah, and
yeah,
that's cool, but the person down the street is a bigger commitment. So
no, I'm with that. I've always felt that too, of like trying to find a church home. We got like all these awesome churches of like, and they're like, 45 minutes to an hour away, and they're like, come here to go to church with us, and you can fellowship and listen to a good message and get in some worship and stuff like that, which I love. But I'm like, man, this my community is here. Even though I'm not, I don't know if that's like an excuse, because I don't go to any of these churches, but I feel like if I was, it would have to be something in the community where I live, right? That I would be an impact here. And so we have an online community. We connect with people all over the world. We do life together. We have prayer meetings and we do meetups, man. And what the churches are trying to do now with online church, like we've been doing this, you know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't even call it church. We're just a called out people who come together and we love the Lord. And there's people from all walks of life who resonate with what I do, and then even just with all the eclectic conversations I have with people on, because I'm not a respecter of persons, especially when it comes to, I just want to have a conversation with somebody regardless of what you believe, and hopefully I can learn something. Hopefully you can have something that, I think that, you can share what's working for you and what didn't work for you, what were pitfalls, and like if you're open and honest about your situation, I think that's like this organic form of evolution, how we'll evolve spiritually, through like spiritual alchemy to different levels in our lives. It's one thing for us to be able to learn from our own mistakes and what works for us, but when we can listen to other people who have been through other things, when we get there, like, okay, I'm not going down that path because I know where that leads, because I've heard too many stories. You know what I'm saying? And just being open and honest with that. And for me personally, I do have an agenda, right? It's to try to show the love of the Creator through everything, like you said, through nature, through the whatever. And I'm looking for Him in everything as well, because He is. Like, if you can't see God in all, then you can't see God at all. So, and I've had some really eclectic conversations with people who you wouldn't expect. Yeah. So like, man, I'm just like, can feel His presence, you know what I'm saying, in a conversation with somebody. You're like, what's going on, man? Or I take advantage after the conversation and lead someone in a prayer where we got hundreds or thousands of people watching, and like we're doing a show about aliens or UFOs or whatever the case is, and then I do a prayer at the end, and they're like, what am I feeling when you prayed, man? Something broke in me. What is it? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, look, God is in all, man. And if you got to learn to see Him, and it ain't where is God? It's like where are you? Like, what's up with your vision?
Exactly. What's your vision? That's amazing. I like that.
That's good, man. So I want to ask you a little bit more about something that interests me, because I don't have a lot of information on the Seventh-day Adventist. I was raised Baptist as a kid, and then when I got born again myself, it was in the Assemblies of God, charismatic revivals, and more spiritual, kind of out there form of Christianity. I got involved in the Black Hebrew Israelites for some time. And they really taught me how to study the scriptures, man, and break it down. And so there was a lot that I learned from them. But I've come full circle, and a little bit more like everything that I've learned, I've just kind of tried to keep hold of all the good and throw out all the bad over it all, no matter what it is. That's where I am now. There was, ran in a couple circles we would debate Seventh-day Adventists, or we would learn a little bit about it. And, we always would try to go for the head person. Ellen G. White was one of the names, or like whether it was the Mormons or Joseph Smith. We would like try to show how these people were false prophets. That's about the extent I know, is like coming at it from trying to like combat it and tell people they're wrong for being in it, that kind of thing. But the more research I've done on especially spirituality with Ellen G. White, there's a lot of stuff that I appreciate that she brought to the table, and even reference some of her work in my book. For you, where do you why is that the framework when you can pick throughout all of realms or fringes of Christianity or New Age or spirituality, why are you anchored in the Seventh-day Adventist church or belief systems?
It took me a long time to figure that out. But the first thing is the Sabbath. And the reason why I am Seventh-day Adventist is because we worship on the Sabbath. And that is, the Sabbath was something from the beginning of the creation of the earth, which God rested on the seventh day. When he created all of this, it was to show his character. When you create a product, like I was saying, what are the ingredients that you put into it? You know, when I make a product that's African shea butter, and every single ingredient is that I put into it is all natural. It's so natural you can eat it. So there's no preservatives or anything like that. It shows the heart of the designer. With this, infinite giving and receiving, it shows the creator's character. This habitat, this earth, without the artificial ecosystem of man putting stuff over roads and buildings and all these different things, it will take care of itself and nourish itself. And it's a beautiful system. Before the fall, you had producers, consumers, and decomposers, and then carnivores were introduced into that system. Carnivores are the least to eat. They eat about 25%, lions, tigers. So that means they eat about once a week, compared to what a tree does when it puts its hands in the air and the leaves praise the creator and receive energy, which give fruit and give energy back. So the Sabbath, leading back to the Seventh-day Adventist question, the Sabbath is very important. It just shows the economy and the love and the government of God. Here's another statement. This is by the Catholic Church. They said, if you want to follow the Bible sola scriptura, you should become a Seventh-day Adventist. I can send you the quote. It's by, I forget, it was Pope something, but I'll send you the quote after. The other thing about I was gonna say something else about the Sabbath. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah. There's one thing that's interesting about the Sabbath. I mean, there's a lot. I say one thing. There's a lot.
It's a lot of
a deep subject. One thing that's interesting is that it's an everlasting covenant. Mm-hmm. Like, how long is everlasting? When does that cut off? When is that? When Jesus dies, or he goes to the cross? What does everlasting mean?
So the Sabbath, if you look at the Sabbath, what was Jesus doing? He was healing and bringing restoration from ailments. So in Christ, you find restoration. And when was he doing that most? On the Sabbath. So even with, if you read through the Bible, what I've been doing, I read through the Bible and I look up every name and look up what it means. And
sure.
and I
the
look
allegory.
up, I look up the metaphor under it. So most of the time when something happens and there's restoration, it's on the Sabbath. It's an amazing thing. There have been animals that rest on the Sabbath. There's been like beaver tribes that rest on the Sabbath. There's this cow during World War II that would rest on the Sabbath, work super hard on Friday and then rest on the Sabbath. The land rest. Even in Deuteronomy, the Bible says, "Let the land rest after 7 years." That means let the fruit fall down and allow the land to decompose and create more compost, so you have more minerals to grow. If you don't do this, the land you're gonna have a famine in the land because you're gonna take all of the minerals out of the ground. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So you can find the Sabbath and the number 7 in creation and design. You can find it with the days. You can even look at the Seventh-day Adventists in Loma Linda. We're centurions. We are one of the places in the world that have the highest number of centurions. That's because there's no drinking, no smoking, coffee and tea. They've just started drinking coffee and tea, no meat, and we rest every Sabbath from Friday night to Saturday night. And you can look that up. I'm trying to think of what other great benefits of the Sabbath, because it's one of my favorite days. I get to
well, yeah,
chill.
you're talking about resting, like they've done studies and stuff saying that the body heals itself quicker on the Sabbath and during the new moons as well, because the new moons are Sabbaths as well. That's the one I like a lot. I do a lot of stargazing on the new moon, going out and just being under the open stars and communing with the Father and that kind of thing. And it was interesting too. It's like in the Bible, the other nations that were against Israel, God's chosen people, understood that if they could get Israel to sin, that even for a moment of time, God would take his hand off of them to show them their weakness, right? Hey, if you don't want to follow me, I'll let you do your own thing, right? He had his hand of protection around them as long as they were keeping the laws and statutes and commandments, and keeping the Sabbath was one of them. And so the other nations understood that if we can get them to break the law, then God would take his hand off of them for a moment of time, and then we could come in and overthrow them. And there's stories, I think there's some in the Apocrypha, where the other nations would come up, and they would come with merchants, would come to Israel's gate, and they would try to sell. They had all these trinkets and all of these foreign stuff. Hey, come buy from us. And it was only on the Sabbath they would come to try to tempt them to come out and buy and things like that. And then we look at America and we look at where we are. When do we get our paychecks? Friday night. Like Friday night, when it's time, when we're supposed to get off of work on Friday evening to rest, Friday night you get your paycheck. You want to go to the mall. You want to go spend your money. You want to go out. You want to go partying. When the sun goes down, it's time to go rest. It's time to draw away and to be with the family, to honor the Father. But they've got us out here getting our paycheck and ready to spend it. Most of us are spending it before we even get it. It's already spent, So it's like this weird notion of like somebody knew, and they're trying to get us to break God's commandments without even knowing it. Yeah,
it's amazing. My mom and my dad have their own business, and my mom would close her office at 3:00 every Friday, and she would give out her checks. So because we would go home and prepare for Sabbath, clean the house, get all the food ready, and then be ready to go to like Vespers or sing or whatever else. That is a setup. It's with them bringing the trinkets. It's the same thing. And this is why you need to know history. That's why that's a great history lesson for you, because those eternal principles don't change. When you break the law, because God keeps his promises, he tells you in Deuteronomy all the things that are going to happen if you keep these commandments, because they're eternal principles. You'll be prosperous. And it's crazy. My mom we'd always on Sabbath, we'd have like 50 people over, and we'd be feeding everybody. And we would go to church and then come back and feed everybody. And then we'd go out and pass out pamphlets or do whatever to bring restoration to people. And she would always be gathering lots of fruit and lots of vegetables and clothes and whatever else she could. And I said, Mom, why do you always have all this stuff? You always got so much stuff. She's like, Ashon, I have stuff so I can give it to people. So she continuously gathering so she can give. And that's another eternal principle: gather and give, gather and give. And so on the Sabbath, Christ restored. And so that's the restoration I find now. And it is a setup. I mean, the setup for church to be on Sunday, that was changed by Constantine. And it's pagan worship of solar sun worship. So if you want to participate in that, that's fine. But the Creator is telling you, this is my day. And this is going to be, if you read the book by Ellen G. White, The Great Controversy, it tells you through prophecy, which you've got Daniel, Daniel in the Bible. So he had the prophecy of the statue, the Babylonian statue. So you got the golden head, you got the bronze chest, you got the iron, it's gold, silver, and then it's bronze, and then iron legs. So Babylon is the golden head, which is the mindset of Babylon. And in Babylon, they said, if you don't worship on this day when the music plays, you'll be thrown into the fiery furnace. Same principle goes. And then the Medes and the Persians came with the silver chest. Then you have bronze, which is the Greeks. And they followed this mindset. It's like rebranding. It's like Coke and then Pepsi, and then it's same doctrine or same drink, same ingredients, different culture. So then you have the Greeks for the waist, and then now we're in the legs of iron. And then there's the 10 toes, which are iron and clay. That was the prophecy. So the Sunday worship hasn't changed since the Babylonian days. It just amalgamates into a different culture, and then it continues down the same line. But there's really only two things. There's a Sabbath worship and Sunday worship. And that's what's going to be a contention at the end of time, where we're leading right now with coronavirus and you getting inoculated and having this chip put into you. So then if you don't keep the laws, which we're going to say, Pope is saying, you need to have a day of rest and we want you to spend time with your family and da-da-da-da-da. Okay, what day is that going to be? Sunday. And now we're forced to worship on Sunday. So now, if you don't worship on Sunday, we're going to turn your chip off. That's in the Great Controversy. If you want to, that's a wonderful book if you want to read it and know how and know which way we're going. That's Prophecy by Daniel.
Yeah. So I know there's some Seventh-day Adventists. Is something that you believe that like it is a salvation issue as far as like what day you worship on, like Saturday or Sunday? Like it proves if you, whether it's love the Lord or you're going to heaven, that kind of thing. Do you still hold to that? I personally, I am about your heart. Just like with the giving of tithe, I'm about your heart. Sometimes I go surfing and I just want to be in nature. So I don't go to church. I'll go and spend time with God in nature, or I'll sit and draw. And it's about my heart, really. It's really about your obedience to the Creator. So if he asks me to do something, am I going to do my own thing, or am I going to do what the Creator asked me, obedient unto death? Well, son, he's already asked you in the scriptures.
He already asked me, and he asked me from Genesis to Revelation. So I don't know. I can't go on any other day. He asked me to serve on. He asked me to restore people on that day. Christ restored on that day. There's so many sevens in the Bible of restoration that it just can't be denied. So in terms of salvational, I say yes, but it needs to be more about your heart, just like it said Paul was talking about in Romans.
Because there's those people who are keeping the Sabbath, but their hearts are far from them. They're just like, what are you doing here? Hey, I'm getting it just like you, buddy.
I'm telling you, I went to church my whole life, but I didn't know why I was going on Sabbath.
Exactly.
There's people that go in church on Sabbath and they go in church and they talk crap about people and they do all kind of extra stuff. But just because you go on Sabbath doesn't mean anything. If your heart is not with the Creator, he's going to be like, you don't really know me.
Yeah, I think, man, Romans 1 and 2, talking about how creation, and you keep going back to creation. It's like, look, creation testifies that there's a God, and there's people who don't have the law. They don't know nothing about Sabbath. They don't know nothing about Israel's covenants. They don't know anything about that. But by nature, they're doing the things that are written of in the law. They have a choice whether they could lie, cheat, or steal, and they're choosing not to because their conscience bears witness that it's wrong. And so it talks about that in Romans, and that's really deep. For me, it opened me up to be more inclusive, to talk to other people and be able to see God in other people who had no idea any of my Christianese. I could break down the Sabbath. I could break down the law and the commandments and not eating pork and eating kosher and so much stuff that I felt like got me closer to God that didn't mean a damn thing, really. It could, because these people were closer to God than whether I was or people who, dot the T's and dot the I's and cross the T's, right? They're doing all the things. They have an outward appearance of godliness, but inwardly they're you know empty. What I'm saying? So I was at a place where I was coming out of being combative and, looking at everybody's, I'm saying, judging them and showing you why they're not getting into heaven, to where like open up, like, okay, now I'm going to show you why these people are getting into heaven, right? And to be able to see the good that you've seen, the bad that they're doing. Now let's show life. It was about around 2012 that I was kind of going through that awakening and spirituality and all that stuff at the same time, while being really dogmatic about my beliefs and stuff like that, which is I still like to have the conversations and talk about it, and a lot of it still is near and dear to my heart, but I'm definitely not as combative and things like that about it.
No, I agree with you. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I was just gonna say, the Pharisees crossed all the I's and dotted the T's, but they're the ones who killed Jesus. They went to church every Sabbath. So what I learned is this. And it was amazing. It took my ex teaching me this, my ex-girlfriend, and I was so combative and so not compassionate because I didn't realize people weren't raised like me.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, why are you doing this? Why would you do this? I don't understand. The law says this, and you're doing this. And I was really black and white, and I'm still black and white. But now I realize that you have to be compassionate. And I learned from my roommate. I call him King. I call everybody King now, but his name is Connor. But I call him King Connor, and he has done more for opening up my heart and my mind than even the other Adventists have, because he walks in such faith and such kindness and such giving that it's like, wow, this person is amazing. And there's going to be people in heaven that didn't ever go to church on Sabbath, but their heart, they lived eternal principles. So I would rather live eternal principles than be caught up in you didn't do this and you didn't do that. So that's where I'm at now.
Yeah, I'm with you too, man. I think that's where he tries to get us, and we have to go through our, we got to learn. It's a learning experience, and he's the author and creator of our faith, and I'm thankful that I went through all that stuff too, Yeah. So I catch myself whether it's getting dogmatic or getting caught up in those things as well. A couple other subjects I want to talk about again, just because we mentioned Ellen G. White. For me, what I quoted her in the book was about stargazing and about UFOs and things like that, which I'm really big into. She talked about this place of creation coming out of, like, she mentions the New Jerusalem descending from Orion's belt or the Horsehead Nebula, and then even science has proven like that there's different galaxies and stars being birthed that are coming out of the Horsehead Nebula. And then once I read that, and I'm just doing my own studies and I'm having my own experiences, like out of this world, stargazing, gazing into the nebula, right, and just seeing things go in it and come out of it, and I'm just like blown away. I referenced her in the book. Does she hold a significant place in your faith? And what about UFOs and the stars and that whole concept of Orion? Does that mean anything to you?
Yeah, Orion. I think that's the North Gate. That's where God will descend, or the Creator will descend from, to come back to Earth. In terms of aliens and UFOs, I believe aliens and UFOs are fallen angels.
Well, let's just change. I say aliens, UFOs. We could say angels, because that's what I'm talking about when I say that. The angels of the Most High.
Demons and spirits and fallen angels that are they need a way to move around, and also inhabit bodies. That's why. Everything is so fear-based. We are made in the image of the Most High, right? So when we're balanced and alkaline, we eat the right food and we drink the right water and we do everything that we can in walking the path. Your body is alkaline. It's alkaline. So nothing can inhabit that. When your body's acidic, that's why they call it alcool, because spirits are able to inhabit, because you've lowered your pH balance. You've lowered this vessel that holds this spirit and allowing other spirits to come into it. So aliens and different things like that. Yes, I think right now, since God gave us power and dominion over this earth, and we gave that to Lucifer in the garden. That is why power and dominion, this is from Miles Monroe too. If you haven't heard about Miles Monroe, he absolutely amazing speaker, but he talks about, God giving dominion over to man. That's why Christ had to pass through the portal of Mary to enter in as a man, to have power over the fallen angels, and or UFO or aliens or whatever you want. And they are aliens; they're not from here, so you can call them aliens. Ellen G. White, yes, she's big, but it's not like L. Ron Hubbard, or it's not like anything like that. It's more of a person who, like, if you read The Great Controversy, it talks about the Waldensians and all these people who sometimes even children would be used by the Creator to preach and to get the message across, because sometimes us adults, we don't we don't listen, and we're closed off to the spirit realm. We're closed off to, especially the United States. We're really closed off to any of that stuff. And people don't believe in it. And the Bible is all these other things. But with her, it's more of a person that was listening, kind of like Moses, being used to perform a task and give knowledge. The Bible is 100% takes precedence over her. But she helps with explaining different concepts. So that's what if I'm reading Ellen G. White, then that's what I use to get the concept easier. Sometimes I read only King James Version. So sometimes reading that they speak differently, whence thou comest thou. And you're like, what? I don't know. What if thou meaneth? I don't know what that means. So getting information in a different way may help you see the full picture of what's going on in the Bible, because it takes a lot to go from watching a movie to reading and then really investigating. So I would spend some of my Sabbaths, like 2 years ago, every Sabbath, I would spend like 10 hours just reading the Bible and taking each word and finding out what each thing meant. Like I decoded all of Judges 13, 14, and 15 just to understand. And the whole plan of salvation is in Judges 14. It's amazing to just find. You could literally take just Judges 14 and you could have the whole plan of salvation in it. And it's the whole Bible.
It's pretty much every book of the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
so
every chapter.
Anybody wants to cut anything out. And that's what's so amazing.
Yeah.
The Creator had to have written or had to have inspired to write this thing, because the amount of design, like if you take all the patriarchs and you put all their names together, it tells a whole story. And you do the meeting, tells a whole story of the plan of salvation through all the beginning patriarchs.
Yeah. It wasn't by mistake. There's no history book that has that much, I won't say allegory, but have that much meaning behind everything that they did. He went over and picked up a hammer, and then he took it and threw it in the water. Like, that has significant meaning. It wasn't just, you know what I'm saying? And it means something about us too, which is the deep thing for me. Is like the allegory, as far as like, I'm reading the story about these people, but I'm really reading about myself within those pages, and the Creator is speaking to your heart, and he's doing heart surgery, and you're finding yourself lost within the pages of that book, but found as well, because it's the most, I call it magical. It's the most magical book you can ever read. Because it knows it's the Creator speaking directly to you, and knows exactly what you ate this week, knows what you're going through, knows who you're mad at, knows who you haven't forgiven. And then as you're reading it, it's bringing all of that stuff up and allowing you to deal with it. And it's not that you're just reading a history book about some people who lived 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, whatever. You're not just reading their story. You're reading your story, and then it's alive, man. And it's sharper than any two-edged sword. And like, that's when I came to that understanding, for me, like, it was just a personal revelation of just reading it and like in prayer, and like, oh man, this is really good. Tell me more. And every time I would read it, it would be about where I was at. And then I'm like, eventually, like you're talking about, doing the word studies and seeing what these people really meant and what these places meant. And the way that they overcame those nations that were coming against them, in very similar manner, they represent pride and lust and unforgiveness and retribution. And these nations that they fought against are really about Israel being the children of God, and you are a child of God. And when you're dealing with that nation, look up their name: retribution, pride, whatever, jealousy. When you're idolatry, when you're dealing with your own idolatry, things that you're exalting higher than the throne of the Almighty, that you're not supposed to be doing, but you're trying to seek it out anyway. Their demise, what happened to them, is going to happen to you unless you repent and respond with love and breaking down the words and the meanings. And it's just like this beautiful story of like, man, like, it's almost like haunting, like, because I'm in it and I can't get away from you, Lord. The Bible's talking about it, and I'll quit trying to read the Bible. Let me just watch TV. And then everything I'm watching on TV is talking about it. I'm like, oh, I got to repent. I got to get my heart right. Like he'll move heaven and earth, man, to speak to us. When we're his, we're called according to his name. It comes alive. And Corinthians talks about like people aren't going to be able to understand how to interpret the word if they're not born again. If they're not, it actually uses the word illuminated. If they're not illuminated with the light of Christ, the Holy Spirit, you're not going to be able to understand it. So it's about having that personal encounter with the Creator, asking him to reveal himself to you, and then he opens it up and begins to show you things and give you understanding about your life, about the nature of reality. You know what I'm saying? About metaphysics, about the universe, about demons, about whatever it is, man. And it becomes the most beautiful book ever written.
The book is just so infinite. It's ridiculous. It's agriculture. It's politics. It's money. It's family matters. It's just so many things.
Yeah. Anatomy. Yeah.
I have worship with I call her Queen Sarine, but I have worship with her every morning, and we read for about an hour. This morning we read about the children of Israel crossing the Red Sea, and she's like, I just don't understand. I don't get it. And I said, okay, look at this. You've got a group of people that entered into Egypt as kings and queens because Joseph was in charge. After he died, they were enslaved for 400 years. They know nothing about the Creator now. All they know is the people that they were with. That's just like us right now. The Egyptian, it represents a worldly mindset, meaning whatever the world has to offer to you. So then God goes, here, I'm bringing you to this sea that you need to cross. And I was like, do you remember when you had the habit of eating a certain thing? And when you let go of it, let's just say caffeine or coffee, and you get these massive headaches and you don't want to cross that sea. You don't, because you want to stay in this habit. You want to stay in whatever situation you're in. The children of Israel are saying, why did you bring us out here to the Red Sea to die? You could have just left us in Egypt. That's a bad habit, calling you back. It took one person. His name was Nashon. He walked up neck high to the Red Sea before it parted. And when it parted, it was a straight and narrow path, meaning this is the path. I don't want you to go to the left or to the right. I don't want you to deviate from the path that I've created for you. I want you to make a new habit. The habit is to walk with me. And I was just blown away this morning. Sorry about that. You there?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I don't know why that happened. My phone's off. How do I blow you back up? Okay.
They're going to keep calling until you answer.
Yeah. No, it's my birthday today. That's why.
What is it?
It's my birthday today. That's why.
Oh, what? Happy birthday, man. Dude, that's
you.
so thoughtful of you to spend this time with us, bro.
Hey, look, my new thing, from learning is I was sent to this earth to serve. And so on my birthday, I'm going to give presents instead of, and my presence with you is the gift, the presence of knowledge. Mm-hmm. Doing all this other stuff that we make up is not really in design. So I try to keep design as closely as possible.
That's awesome, man. I won't keep you too much longer. Just a couple more questions for you, bro.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Oh, no. Being a designer, man. Oh Lord. I showed some of your designs on the screen here earlier. Let's see, and this is only for those who are watching. Those of you who are listening will have to go to his website, Volorian.com, VOLOREAN. Click on designs, and there's some beautiful designs there. So I was showing some of this stuff, and on your Instagram, you talked about. So you're a musician and a designer. On your Instagram, you were talking about there was a jacket that you posted that Chris Brown was wearing, the entertainer. Can you talk a little bit about that jacket?
Oh man, that was my senior design project that I did, and it was about taking. It was these guys that would go. Okay, so the meaning Volorian is this. Volorian is a portal that you enter. So it's a portal that you walk through to walk the path. So it says in the Bible, it's harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven than for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle. In ancient times, when you walked through, when you got to a city, there was the thing that was the eye of the needle was this. It was like a structure that would only allow you'd have to take everything off the camel, allow the camel to pass through, and then you would be able to enter the city. So the meaning of that is, are you able to let go of the old you and let go of the different impurities, I guess, within yourself that are keeping you from entering into the celestial city?
Yeah.
And most of us want to hold on to our stuff. So that's what the two needles are. If you lay them down, it's a road that walks towards the celestial city.
Okay, so that's your logo as well, the two needles.
That's the logo, okay. Yeah. Is the two needles.
And is that for your design? That's not for your music, right? Is
that's basically me. It's two things. I use it because most of the time when I hear music, it'll be at night. It'll be at 3:00 at night. And I go to this weird place where there's angels DJing. I know it's going to sound crazy, but I'm like, Lord, I need new music. Hook me up. And so I usually dream, and I dream about this place where there's, it's crazy. Michael Jackson's sitting there in a booth with Prince, and they're sitting there bobbing their head, and R2-D2 and C-3PO there, and just weird stuff is there. And these two angels are DJing, and it'll be a full song. And I'll be like, dang, this song is good. And then I'll be like, is this an actual song? And then that's how most of my songs are written. So I will take what I hear, wake up, put it in Logic, and play it. So that is the portal that I enter through to be with the Creator. I enter through into that city.
Through the dream state?
And yeah, through dream state. So that's when even with designing. So with those jackets, I'll tell you this, I was designing, and my teacher, we couldn't figure out how to put the faces into the jacket. So I was like, Lord, I got to finish this. I got to finish this design because I'm not going to pass my classes. So you got to help me. So it took about 3 months. And then I was like, on the final week that I had to turn it in, I was like, Lord, this is the final piece. I don't know what to do. So in a dream, the Creator, an angel comes to me and expands the jacket. Like, you know how you see those books with the expanded jet, it explodes and expands. So it expanded 3 times. And then on the last time it expanded, like it exploded in slow motion. And then the angel pointed his finger and showed me how to sew it into the jacket, because I was trying to do it with lining. And so that's how I figured out how to put the faces to mold the faces and to do everything to make it work. But that jacket it's a theme of these Native American guys who go into space and they save different cultures, and the people that they destroy, they wear as trophies on their shoulders.
Well, I mean, that's what the old warriors did, man. The bones and teeth and all that kind of stuff, Yeah. Of that. Heck, I mean, I think the Israelites did it with the foreskins of the other nation. They kept their foreskins, and the crazy stuff. But yeah, it's like a trophy, man. But so how did
the mindset?
Exactly.
So I'm taking the mindset from them. So go ahead.
So how did Chris Brown end up with the jacket? What's the story on that?
It's crazy. I won a scholarship to move to Paris, and then my best friend at the time, these people out of nowhere just called me up and said, "We love your stuff, and we want to have it in LA at this gallery." And then Chris Brown went to the gallery, and then he ended up getting the jacket from there. So it just things fall into place. I don't know, but I left fashion because I realized that there was a bigger blessing for me to, even though fashion is huge, because there's even fashion in the Bible. Check this out. The Israelites the priest wore linen. Linen raises your frequency 5,000 hertz. Polyester and rayon resonate at about 30, and death resonates at about 15 hertz. When you come into contact, this is why Moses, when God said to Moses, I want you to take off your shoes so you're grounded, not by a man-made material or man-made thing. I want you to get grounded in me and grounded in what I've created. So linen is one of the most natural fabrics you can have. And the way that the energy flows with linen, So if I ever do get back into fashion, that's what I will create as a linen collection to raise people's and elevate people's frequency.
There's people talking about it. I've had an interview with a couple people. I don't know if they have the resources or even the background in design, but they definitely have the background in spirituality and they want to do it. But they talked about wanting to do it with clothing and having crystals and things like that, and having these clothing, which leads me to something I talked about in the book as well. Crystals, raise your vibration, change your vibrational frequency. Some of them block frequencies, a lot of different things that they do. And so we're talking about these clothing and frequencies, like the breastplate or the ephod within the scriptures that had all these crystals on it that got them into this, the priests, when they would wear it, into this right vibrational frequency to talk with the creator, and so dealing with crystals and incense that we're burning and offering up as prayers and all of that stuff changes your vibrational state and puts you in this place to receive and to commune with God. I mean, it's all beautiful. So that'd be awesome to see you tapping into that with crystals and you know what I'm saying?
I love it. The priests used to wear the 12 tribes. That's what all those 12 stones represented. And so when he would come, he would bring forth the children of Israel to the Creator. And each tribe of Israel had a different skill set. And each stone has a different skill set and what it does. And it's just even right there, you got the Bible talking about crystals. It's just ridiculous.
And then
it goes on and on.
You have the ephod, but then they have the kings would wear a crown, which was like an ephod for the head that had the crowns and the jewels going around the head. We thought it was just diamonds and rupees and costly pearls, but it's like, no, this was a ruler, a priest who was like so-called ordained by God. Now, which God, I don't know. They borrow customs and all that kind of stuff, but it's interesting getting into frequencies and getting into crystals, which are big, zooming in on the frequencies of love and things like that, and the sacred geometric patterns that are made through high vibrational frequencies of love and words that you speak and tones that you can play on frequencies on your keyboard, all of that stuff, the music that we're listening to, all the way breaking it down to, I want to mention all that stuff because I know you're into it, but to throw this name out there because you shared an Instagram picture of this person, Terrence Howard.
Yeah.
And I know you probably watched his presentations too, which I thought I was deep when it came to that stuff. And I'm really, I've seen those interviews where he was talking about, he was given the knowledge and the key to open up the flower of life, which was what Pythagoras was trying to do. He was on these like red carpet giving these interviews, and they're making fun of him. They're laughing at him. He's lost his mind, everyone. He's leaving entertainment to pursue this stuff. And then let me listen to an interview, and you find these interviews, and he's like, oh my God, he's showing you how to get free energy that the Most High has given us through sacred geometry and the way that we design things. And if you turn them into 3D objects and they'll spin forever, it's like out of this world, man. So for you, what does that mean for you, man? To Terrence Howard and what he's brought to the table with sacred geometry and all that?
He's right on. It's crazy. In design, I use sacred geometry and I use the golden ratio to make sure that everything is balanced. That's what I use to make sure whatever I make is balanced. I literally overlay it on the design. Like if I'm doing graphic design for a client or anything like that, that's what I use to make it work. And it works every time because that's the way the universe is designed. And so for us to not even have free energy and to not even think about the flower of life 3D until now, I mean, I'm sure we have before, and I'm sure another civilization has figured that out, just like the Egyptians had free energy. I just don't understand. Oh, I understand why we're lagging, but Terrence Howard is right on. Dr. Emoto is right on.
We tried the rice experiment.
How did you guys go?
Yeah, 100%. It worked. Yeah, it's awesome.
It's just when I tell people that, they're like, it says pseudoscience. He's not a real scientist. But I'm like, we are 70% water.
They were doing it at schools with plants and stuff. I know you've seen that, huh?
Yeah.
Having all the kids come inside and doing it and letting all the kids see it. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing. the cymatics. Actually, I want to tell you about this. There's a new device coming out called Healy. Healy is a device where you put these things on your wrists and on your ears, and it sends an electromagnetic pulse to that area, or it sends hertz. It sends frequencies. So each part of our body, each cell in our body, our eyes, our lungs, our skin, everything has a tone. Even our backbone, each vertebrae has a note. So if your back is out, it's resonating wrong. So what this Healy does is you have it on your phone, and you can click what tone you want to heal your back, and it sends a frequency to line those notes up so they resonate again, so they're not dissonant. It's pretty amazing. And if you look at even the music that we play now, it's tuned at 440. It should be 432 or 444 hertz. And Dr. Leonard Horowitz talks about it. That's how I learned about it. And I tune all my music to 432.
Yeah, so we had some questions right at the very beginning. They wanted me to ask you about 432.
Yeah. 432 is I think it's the resonating frequency of the earth. And then 444 is also. And there are tones that heal, my buddy. There are tones that heal that's why David he tuned his guitar for Saul to heal him with those tones when he would play. So there is healing just in tones. They have right now frequencies that will kill cancer. I can send you that video too. It actually shows they would send a frequency to cancer cells and they would just disintegrate. Like they'd literally start shaking and then explode. So healing is in sound, and why wouldn't it be? God spoke this or sang this planet into existence. How we're held together is through sound. So if you look at it 3D, there's dimensions of sound that's holding us up. That's why there's sound levitation that we can do. So that Star Wars car that floats is not that far off.
Man, they've hidden a lot of secrets in Star Wars, bro.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
They have.
It's amazing. Yeah, man. All of that stuff, it fascinates me. I think 528 is 528 one of the
528 one of them. I can send you a site that has all of sorry, bro, you gotta lay down. He always wants to play. I can send you a site that will give you every single tone and what it does. And it's the same thing. The chakras are a tone. They do healing, and it's a certain frequency. That's why I wanted to learn how to play sound bowls. I went to a sound bowl session, bro. It was crazy. Like my whole body was it was wonderful. Just the frequency of it, just aligning everything and just feeling peace. And we're so thrown off by the radio, by media, by even the food and water we drink. It's an illusion of food, so it's not resonating right. So when we eat it, we start resonating, and that's what causes dis-ease or disease, because the cells are resonating so off that they're not communicating with what they need to do to heal the cell.
Yeah, when I started learning about frequencies and stuff like that, I remember driving my truck, and then I'd be listening to the radio, and they're like, "This is a test of the emergency broadcast system." Boop. Hold on, turn that off. What kind of what frequency is that? got everybody alarmed, on edge, like, hold on, what are they doing? They just got this tone going over the radio. Boop. Yep. So hold on, I'm turning that off, man. These people using all this, like, you know what I'm saying? Spiritual warfare through sound and all of that stuff, keeping people lax, or it's time to buy, or I don't know what they're trying to communicate, but I didn't trust it. So I was like, nah, I'm gonna be careful what I'm listening to, man, with the frequency.
Well, like I said with Babylon, it said when the harps and the different things play, then you'll bow down and worship this golden statue.
There was a sound that came forth, yeah.
Sound is first before you begin the worship. That's huge. It's so significant, it's ridiculous. When we hear sound, we begin whatever we've been taught, that's what we begin to do. So make sure what you're listening to, the food that resonates, the music that resonates, the clothing that resonates that you have. I mean, there are brands out there that are very satanic, and you put those emblems, which resonate at a frequency, to allow certain things to enter and exit. I see sound. So I wouldn't say see sound. So each note has a color. So I don't read music. I listen to, I see the color and then I play back the music. That's how I've never been able to read music. I'm extremely dyslexic. So when I was learning, I would play the left hand and the right hand, the right hand and the left hand. And my teacher would pop my hand and
with a ruler.
I was like, I can't help it. So I'd be like, can you just play this real quick? And I'd listen to and look at the sounds, look at the colors and play back the colors. So that's how that's how I see. Like even with 1 second, sorry, buddy.
His puppy needs to go out. He's got a little puppy for everybody listening on the podcast apps.
Okay, so you can see sound when people speak. When they speak and it's a tone of "I hate you" or something like that, it's red frequency. It's red rapid waves, and it's a very, like I had an ex that would say one thing that was positive, but she would be resonating red. So it was, and I can see that magnetic frequency from the heart will give you the color of the person when they're feeling. It's almost like each person's like a mood ring. So it's pretty.
Yeah. Everybody's different with the discernment. I get like that too. I start talking about operating in discernment and I'm like, you can feel it. You can just feel it. And I'm like, hold on. Not everybody can feel it. It's like, just because I can feel it and I know people who can feel it, some people are like hook, line, and sinker for whatever. They can't feel it. They can't see it. You know what I'm saying? So, but you can practice it. You know, some people are gifted in different areas. For me, I can tell. I can tell when they're like someone, and this is what gets me a lot, because people who talk about a lot of this deep, far out knowledge, whether it's anything to do with some type of mysticism or angry at God, I can tell if they're hurt by their parents, if they're, you know what I'm saying? Even though they're sharing good information, they're doing it out of a place of bitterness and a place that they want to try to like lead you astray away from God. But they're sharing like these deep.
So if you want to know what in the beginning, and right in the center, it had Madame Blavatsky. And not a lot of people know about her. And I was like, whoa. And that was discernment of people or discernment of intent.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, see where they're coming from. Art and stuff as well. Did you do the artwork for your songs that are on the website? Did you do that?
Which website are you on?
Valorian? Like where the songs are?
Well, I'm on Spotify. I'm on Ashon the 7th Son.
Okay.
And I did all the artwork on those. The other ones, that's like older stuff, older songs. So the newer songs are on Spotify, and I did all the graphic design on those.
I'll have to check it out. Yeah, I've got Yep. I'm a Spotify guy, so I'll go check it out. I love it.
And check it out. So let me know what you guys think. I'd love to do some songs with you, man. I got a
beat. I got a beat that I'm gonna send you, man. I got a beat, and
after we get off here, send it to me. I'm ready.
Yeah, I've had writer's block for some time, and so I find, because I'll go through like hundreds of beats, and it's got to be it's got to be my style. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit eclectic, a little bit different. And it's hard to find something that kind of resonates. But, you know what I'm saying? Once you find it, you know, you get that inspiration. So I was like, man, look, let me, because I know you sing, and I know you can do courses and stuff.
Let me get on it. I will help you. I'll hook it up. I'll try to make it as sexy as I can. It'll be good.
This is the idea of what I want to send you. Check it out. Let's see.
Okay. All right.
Here's the song.
Yeah, that's sick.
Couple things, man. I'll send you something, bro. Because everybody's always like, we have a lot of people who are listening to this, because they appreciate me as an artist. They don't even care about the podcast, like I'm saying. They're waiting for new music, so it only comes through inspiration, man. You gotta. That's one of the things out of like writer's block is like, I want to make sure that I'm faithful with like the art. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to create a song just because I know how. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to rhyme about sacred geometry just because I know how or I've used those words before. I want it to be fresh. I want it to be something that I'm feeling, something organic, a piece of me in that song, a piece of some kind of creative aspect, even if it's just with a rhyming scheme or a wordplay that I've never used. Like I want to always keep pushing the envelope. And once you've like set the bar so high for yourself, it's hard to kind of, I never want to put out anything that's below that bar. Yeah. You know, so there's always this upward progression to push the envelope. But that's how you get better, man.
Here's the thing, though. Michael Jackson wrote 100 songs for Thriller album. So just keep writing. Like I had a writer's block, and I was like, you know what? Just get in there and just start writing, and it'll.
I know that seems like because it's so hard for me to write because now I'm writing with this. Like I don't want to say the same thing on every song. Obviously, it's the same message. I'm just trying to, articulate it different. The wayside and not be used and not be beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Well, there's a piece of me that's gonna be like it's deep, it's good, it needs to be out there.
I think you're putting too much pressure on yourself.
I do. Man. I definitely do. It's hard.
And you'll just start like sometimes I'll just get words and I'm like, this is what kind of rhyme was that? And then after maybe an hour or two, stuff will just start flowing. And it'll just happen. Like with this song, I've already got like what you just played. It made me think like floating to space, floating through space, past the nebulous, past the galaxy into the celestial.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. I want to do it, but I've got a bunch of songs about that already. So I'm like, I can't say this, I can't say that, I can't say this. Like I have to do it in a new way, like a fresher way. Like I gotta approach it from another essence. Like you know what I'm saying? And I'll continue to write songs about that. Like I love floating away in the presence of God and being called up. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's about that creative aspect of bringing something new to the table.
You let me know.
I'm sending it to you. I'm sending it to you. We're gonna make it happen. Okay. And if you're a patron, you get access to it first. As soon as it's done, it'll be posted.
Yep.
And then when it's out on an album, then everyone gets it. That's my little personal thing with the fans. They get it early, months early. Man, thanks so much, bro. Again, plug your links. Where's the best place to interact with you? You're active on Instagram. Where's the best place to follow you?
Instagram. You can find me at Valorian, VOLOREAN. Also Ezra Love. That's Ezra Love 432. And yeah, I think Valorian.com. I mean, you guys can get a hold of me. And my music is on Spotify, Ashon the 7th Son, and on SoundCloud under Valorian. So
awesome.
That's
good
all
stuff, brother. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with me, man. Again, happy birthday. And it means a lot that you took the time to hang out with me on your special day, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, dude. I appreciate it.
All right. Many blessings, bro.
All right. Peace.
Shalom, shalom. Peace. Man, good stuff. Covered a little bit of it all, man. We talked about the Sabbath, the rest of God, entering into the rest of God. Then we talked about floating away a little bit there at the end into the presence of God and through sacred geometry. I didn't even show him my sacred geometry tattoos. Look at that. All the sacred geometry I got on me. Didn't even show him that. Man, it's good stuff. The Terrence Howard thing is really deep. I know we've covered it a couple times, but it's beyond my pay grade, right? I just know a little bit about a lot of stuff, but Terrence Howard is really deep on what he talked about unfolding the flower of life and it turning into a 3D symbol and spinning and generating energy. And he's made diagrams. He's got the money to do it, man. It's just mind-blowing stuff. The sacred geometry is definitely where it's at. It is the language of the universe. We're all speaking through vibrations, tones, and frequencies. Ideas carry a frequency. Our diaphragm expands, and the breath of God comes out of us in our lungs and pushes the breath up, and our vocal cords vibrate the vibration, and then we speak it out. We create it into the universe. Abracadabra. I create it as I speak it. It's good stuff, man. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Really enjoyed this episode of the TruthSeekah Podcast. If you are a patron, again, thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. There's so many of you who have been supporting me for years, and you believe in the vision, and thank you guys for that. I know I don't get to call out everybody's name every podcast, but if you're watching on the video apps, the names are scrolling across the bottom. And just, man, I need to do an episode where I'm just sitting here calling out everybody's name, because there's people who've been with me since the beginning. Thank you guys for believing in the work, and especially right now when times are hard financially. But thank you guys for doing that. It really means the world. If you want to support, head on over to patreon.com/TruthSeekah. All that good stuff. Need somebody to talk to? I'm here. I know a lot of people, listen to me on the podcast and they think that I'm some big celebrity and I'm, beyond communicating with, or I'm too big or too busy. That's not the case. We have a community. The community is on our Discord app. Jump in there. We do life together. So anybody needs somebody to talk to, you want to say hello, whatever it is, I'll gladly say what's up. Download Discord. It's on your phone. It's on your computer. Join our server. The Discord is in all of the descriptions of the videos. Get instant access. And I think that if there's any time that we need to come together as a people, as a community, it's right now. And so there's people out there who need what you have to bring to the table. They need what you have to offer. And there's other people who are good at doing stuff that you suck at. And that's how we all come together and we form a community. This is who we are. If you're looking for that community, check it out. Discord link is in the description. Check it out. With that, I'm going to say peace and shalom. Love y'all. Peace.
Your way is so much higher than mine. So much higher than mine. So much deeper than mine. So much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah Podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.